How's everybody doing today? This is Jesse Burnett here with Quik-N-Ez Concrete Creations. We've got an awesome video for you today on how to pour a concrete sidewalk. This is a process that I am showing you today that has been perfected over 3 generations of our family doing concrete here in Central Illinois. So if anybody ever has any questions, you can always reach out to me. I have had a lot of people already reach out to me on my other videos, and I appreciate all the support I can get. So please watch the video, hit the thumbs up, hit the bell for the notifications, and please subscribe. And without further delay, let's go pour some concrete. Before the concrete truck shows up, you need to designate a chute man. He will guide the truck into place and make sure that everyone is safe and that the concrete driver doesn't run over anything that he cannot see in his mirrors. The chute man directs the concrete driver that is in the cab by hand signals and being visible in both mirrors. If he is not visible in either one of the mirrors, then the hand signals will not work, and then the chute man will have to designate one of the other guys to be visible in the mirror and be able to pull the actual driver up. I am wetting the subbase right now to keep the subbase from sucking too much moisture out of the concrete while it's hydrating. Concrete is a chemical process. It's not a drying process, but it also needs the vehicle of moisture, the vehicle of water, in order to promote the chemical process properly. Right now, we are pouring out about 1.5 inches, 2 inches of concrete. We are raking it around, and now we are pulling up the wire mesh. The wire mesh was already placed on top of the subgrade after we had formed it up pre-pour. The hook that you see my cousin Travis using here is just a hoe with the flat parts cut off. And that centerpiece on a hoe is very strong, thick steel, and it enables to make an awesome concrete hook with a long pole. As you can see here, after my brother here, right here in front of us, he's raking the concrete around, getting it to the top of the forms. He's getting it to the top of the expansion up against the step. My dad over on the side, since that's already to height, is floating that right down to the nitty-gritty on the height. Before he did that, I don't know if you noticed, but he ended up puddling the edge there with his float. My brother is raking the concrete as he goes. He's getting it close to level. Then my dad comes in and ends up taking the float and putting the actual concrete on height up against the expansion. My cousin Travis over here on the right behind my dad, as you can see see the round shovel moving up and down. That is called puddling the edge. What that does is it actually takes the air out of the concrete and keeps honeycombs from happening on the side of the concrete and consolidates that whole thickness of the concrete together. Now my brother sees exactly where the height is, where my dad has floated, and he sees that he's a little low, so he pushes some concrete up there. He does a little puddling. That's called puddling, whenever you start pushing the rake repeatedly over the concrete and working it back towards you. It consolidates the rocks with the cement and ends up getting a nice cream on top. As you can see in the background, no, you cannot, but I'm in the background right now pouring out more concrete. I did the process of pouring out 1.5 inches, 2 inches, getting the wire pulled up, and now I'm topping, what we call topping the wire now with the last 2 inches of concrete. My brother is working right alongside there, getting it close to level, because it is easier as a chute operator to see when to pull up when somebody's getting the concrete on height as you go. Because concrete, if you pour it at the proper slump, which right now we are pouring this, I would say right around a 5-inch slump, will stack up versus if a guy was to pour it at an 8-inch slump. Now, slump is a test that they do on the concrete. They take a slump cone and they put the concrete in this cone, and whenever they turn it upside down and dump the concrete out of the cone, how many inches it slumps down from the original 12-inch height, because the cone is 12 inches tall, is the slump the concrete is. So you can imagine the wetter the concrete, the farther it's going to slump down, and so therefore it's a higher inch amount. So something that's, let's say, at 10 inches of slump is pretty much just rocks and cement, and it just kind of like goes everywhere. Now, that particular slump is easier to level out, but also weakens the process. Now, I know I said earlier that you need moisture in order to help the chemical process, but too much water content also dilutes the actual cement to aggregate and sand ratio, which then in turn changes the PSI of the actual concrete itself, which in turn weakens the concrete. It also causes delamination problems in freeze and thaw cycles and causes premature failure of the concrete itself, and you will not get the same PSI that you had ordered on your actual ticket whenever you had ordered the concrete. Right now, my dad is screeding with an aluminum screed board right there. We had a little fast clip there for a minute, but as you can see here, here's a slower clip that he floats the two sides, the forms. He floats one side and the other side, so his side on his right and his side on his left, gets those to height. So then he has a marker. See, there he is. He's floating that side, pulling back the extra concrete that he can see. He's floating the side on his left. Now he's going to take the aluminum screed board, and then he's going to pull it back according to the height right there, which the form itself, since the aluminum screed board's across the actual form, it ends up helping as a guide to actual screed this. And screeding is an art. I know I just stuttered a lot, but screeding is an art. So, and my dad's been screeding for, I don't know, about 40 years, pretty much. Yeah, 40, 45, about 45 years. So a lot of times he can see things on the height that a lot of other guys that would be just screeding for the first or second time cannot see. So their forms are more critical on this, their form, writing on their forms. I've seen him screed a lot of things freehand, and it turned out right on. So my brother's over here bowl floating, and what you want to do with the bowl float is bowl float the opposite direction of the direction you screeded. So my dad screeded up the sidewalk, and Jamie's going across the sidewalk. As you can see here, across the sidewalk, and it's got a knuckle on it, and you want to raise the edge that the motion's going towards slightly. You don't want to raise it too high because you want a lot of that bowl float in order to ride on the concrete. And bowl floating is an art in itself also. As you can see here we are. We're pouring out some more concrete. Getting it a little piled up there, so I turned off the concrete itself. And now Travis is going to level that out so we can end up pulling up the wire. Went over there and grabbed the hook. Now I'm going to pull the wire right behind Travis. He'll come over to the big pile I left him and rake it down where we need the concrete. We are now at the end of our pour. We're putting the concrete into the pour in small increments right now. We have shut off the discharge on the actual ready mix truck and now are raking the concrete down the chute. You've got to try to calculate how much is in the chute when you actually stop the concrete truck from discharging and how much you still need in the pour. If you calculate poorly, you will have a lot of leftover concrete to deal with. If you calculate precisely, you will just have enough. Thanks for watching. I hope this video will help you on your quest to pour a sidewalk. Please hit the subscribe button, turn on those bell notifications, and hit the thumbs up. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments section. We will be happy to address them. Just remember, go write your story.